In this video, I'm going to be comparing controller to keyboard and mouse in Fortnite. I've played on both inputs for almost 6 years now, so I have a pretty good understanding of what works and what doesn't work. Starting off with controller, and one of the biggest advantages that a controller player has is analog movement. With the joystick, you can move your controller in any direction with precise control over your speed. This gives controller players more fluidity and movement, especially in games where positioning and micro adjustments matter, which is definitely Fortnite. You're not restricted to the 8 cardinal directions like keyboard with WASD. Strafing definitely feels much smoother on controller, and it's easier to create rounded movement patterns or maintain tracking in a circular motion around enemies. It just feels natural, almost like an extension of your hand. So in a way, you can move a lot better on controller than if you were to play on a mouse and keyboard. The next advantage that controller players have over mouse and keyboard is obviously the ergonomic design. Controllers are literally built to be held for hours, so the shape, the grip, the trigger placements, everything is designed for hand comfort, and this is why a lot of players prefer playing on controller for long gaming sessions, and that's why consoles exist. Your hands naturally fall into place on these controllers, so it's less likely for you to experience fatigue when playing on controller, especially on awkward hand situations. And although claw is definitely uncomfortable compared to regular non-claw, muscle memory definitely develops fast, and there's less strain on your wrists and fingers playing claw on controller than if you were to adjust anything wrist or arm related on keyboard. Now, most shooter games will definitely have aim assist for controller, although the aim assist is not as overpowered as it once was, so I can't say that this is more of an advantage. You still need good crosshair placement and decision making, but the game helps you stick to targets in close or medium range, which basically means if you have good aim, then you will probably be rewarded for it. So yeah, I guess I could say that's an advantage, but not so big compared to the two that I mentioned previously. Unfortunately, there are a few limitations with controller. First off is obviously the limited input options. One of the biggest drawbacks is the limited number of accessible buttons on a controller. Even on a controller with back paddles, you're looking at fewer inputs than a keyboard can provide. This means you'll often need to use some of the menu buttons on the controller. You have to play on claw or by paddles. In fast-paced games with complex mechanics like Fortnite, you just don't have the same instant access to multiple binds that keyboard has. And of course, while aim assist helps, the raw mechanical potential of a joystick will almost always fall short compared to a mouse. So small flicks, micro adjustments, and ultra fast turns are harder to do accurately on a joystick. There's always a level of sluggishness that's built into the analog input, even on high sensitivity. So there's often a lot of moments where you'll find yourself over or undershooting due to stick drift, lack of fine control, and stuff like that. And obviously, a thumb will always be worse than your full hand. Now, moving on to the keyboard and mouse, there's actually a lot of pros on the keyboard and mouse. The first one is obviously precision. The mouse is an extension of your wrist, and it's incredibly precise. You can flick, track, and snipe with surgical accuracy at this point. That's why in competitive shooters like Valorant, CSGO, and even Fortnite, almost every top player is on mouse and keyboard. It's just objectively faster for aiming and reacting. You also have a lot more customizable features on your mouse. You have full control over your DPI, your mouse pad size, and your sensitivity. There's a level of customization that just doesn't exist on controller. And as previously mentioned, a keyboard can give you access to dozens of keybinds, all rebindable and programmable. This means every action can be a dedicated key, whether it's pulling out a grenade, editing a build, activating an ability, or whatever it may be on whatever shooter game it is. You can do it all instantly. That kind of flexibility just unlocks faster gameplay in games like Fortnite. You're not limited to menus or long button combos or back paddles. Everything is just one tap away. And of course, there's the faster reaction-based gameplay. Because of the way that a mouse and keyboard input works, your actions can feel more instantaneous. You're using your entire arm and wrist to react, and key presses are lightning fast compared to button presses on controller. Movement is sharp, turning is near instant, and you can always multitask with different fingers. In competitive games, this makes a huge difference. Strafing while aiming, crouch spamming, jump peeking, you can do all of it with near zero delay. When you're trying to outplay someone or clutch up in high pressure scenarios, especially in Fortnite, that extra mechanical speed that you get from mouse and keyboard will give you an edge. Now for mouse and keyboard, there's definitely a steeper learning curve. Keyboard and mouse doesn't feel as intuitive as a controller at first. Your fingers have to learn positions and your mouse needs to be tamed. It can take weeks, sometimes months, to even feel natural on mouse and keyboard. New players might find themselves struggling with inconsistent aim or forgetting keybinds. There's also a bigger mental load in managing mechanics, especially if you play fast-paced games like Fortnite. Controller is literally a point and shoot, so it definitely takes time and commitment to master. Compared to a point and shoot for controller, mastering keyboard and mouse probably will take you more time and commitment. And believe it or not, mouse and keyboard can actually cause more hand strain, especially on the wrists, the fingers, and the forearms. Playing long sessions without proper posture, desk setup, or wrist support can definitely lead to discomfort or even long-term issues like carpal tunnel. You're constantly pressing keys, holding modifiers, aiming, and clicking in rapid succession. Unlike the ergonomic grip of a controller, KBM will definitely definitely require active engagement from multiple fingers in multiple positions, which can definitely cause a lot of fatigue. It's not as bad once you're used to it, but it's definitely less laid back than on controller. With all that being said, I still think that keyboard and mouse is better for competitive, but controller is a really good casual alternative.